look out and I see all the real Americans.
The Hogans hang out. The champions are going to be everywhere.
We're going to go see the Razorbacks take on the Longhorns.
The passing of Hulk Hogan marked not just the end of an era, but the closing chapter of a larger-than-life figure who shaped professional wrestling like no other. The reactions from his former WWE colleagues revealed a complex portrait of a man whose influence transcended the ring. From heartfelt tributes steeped in decades of friendship to candid reflections on Hogan's complicated legacy, these responses offer a window into the man behind the iconic persona. Here we explore some of the most touching and revealing reactions from those who knew him best. Ric Flair's emotional tribute, a friendship beyond the spotlight. Perhaps no reaction was more emotionally charged than that of Ric Flair, the legendary Nature Boy, whose relationship with Hulk Hogan spanned decades and navigated the turbulent waters of on-screen rivalry and off-screen camaraderie. When news of Hogan's death broke, Flair took to social media with a tribute that laid bare the depth of their bond, far beyond the flashy lights of the wrestling ring. "I am absolutely shocked to hear about the passing of my close friend Hulk Hogan," Flair wrote. "Hulk has been by my side since we started in the wrestling business. An incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father. Our friendship has meant the world to me. He was always there for me, even when I didn't ask for him to be." But it was Flair's emotional interview with TMZ that truly showcased the profound impact Hogan had on him personally. Struggling to hold back tears, Flair spoke of a friendship that defied the common public narrative of animosity between wrestling rivals. "People always wanted to paint us as enemies," Flair said, his voice cracking with emotion. "But we were actually very, very close friends. We kept up with each other on a regular basis. I just talked to Jimmy Hart yesterday, and he was fine to have this happen." Mick Foley, a story of reconciliation and genuine remorse. Mick Foley's reaction to Hogan's passing took a different yet equally profound path, one that reflected a journey of forgiveness, redemption, and the healing of old wounds. Foley, known for his hardcore wrestling style and candid personality, expressed shock that Hogan, seemingly immortal and ageless, had left this world. "He just suited up and he didn't appear to age," Foley said. "You never thought that the last time you saw Hulk Hogan would be the final time." Their history was complicated. For years, tensions simmered between them due to hurtful comments Hogan had made over 25 years prior. But in recent years, they had begun to mend fences, culminating in a deeply sincere moment on WWE's Most Wanted Treasures show. Foley recalled, "It was a really nice moment. It was a show, but I believe he was 100% sincere. He not only apologized to me for something that was said at least 25 years earlier, but he insisted on apologizing to me a second time." Triple H, the legacy of a wrestling titan. Triple H, both a wrestling icon and WWE's chief content officer, offered a tribute that balanced personal respect with professional insight. His statement acknowledged Hogan's transformative role in shaping the wrestling industry into the global spectacle it is today. WWE would not be where it is today without the larger-than-life characters that compete in the ring, and few, if any, loomed larger than Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea, he wrote. "He was the archetype of what it meant to be a superstar, a global sensation who inspired millions to work hard at whatever they wanted to accomplish." Triple H highlighted how Hogan's image, whether clad in his iconic red and yellow or his darker black and white New World Order attire, was instantly recognizable worldwide. Hulk Hogan, as a real American or the leader of one of the biggest factions in the industry, transcended and elevated the entire business to heights never before seen in every country and on every continent. He praised Hogan's rare ability to captivate audiences and elevate the wrestling industry around him, pointing out that few could match Hogan's combination of charisma, timing, and cultural impact. John Bradshaw, Layfield inspired by the Hulkster. John Layfield, known to fans as JBL, shared a deeply personal reaction that revealed just how much Hogan influenced his own path into wrestling. Taking to social media, the WWE Hall of Famer and former WWE champion expressed not only his condolences, but also intimate insights into Hogan's character rarely seen by the public. "One of the reasons I got into wrestling was Hulk," Layfield shared. "He was always so nice to me, and was the one celebrity who wanted to see all the kids I brought over from Bermuda. This anecdote paints a vivid picture of Hogan's genuine kindness. In an industry where celebrities often have little patience for such fan interactions, Hogan went out of his way to prioritize these moments. His willingness to connect with children and fans alike created lasting impressions. Layfield's tribute emphasized the enduring impact Hogan had, not just as a wrestler or performer, but as a person who inspired and cared deeply about others. Jake the Snake Roberts, a nod between titans. Jake the Snake Roberts, a name synonymous with cerebral promos and sinister storytelling, offered tribute that stood out. Not for its length, but for its weight. Roberts is not a man given to sentimentality or public gestures, which made his simple, heartfelt message even more striking. Accompanying his post was a black and white photograph, Hogan in his signature yellow trunks and championship belt. Roberts by his side holding one of his infamous pythons, the two frozen in time during wrestling's golden age. It's hard to put into words what Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea meant to professional wrestling and entertainment, Roberts wrote. He may be gone, but his memory and legacy will live forever. R.P. Hulkster. The choice to use both Hogan's real name and ring name was not lost on fans. It suggested a dual respect, one for the character who inspired millions, and another for the man behind the muscle, who navigated fame, controversy, and longevity with equal parts ambition and showmanship. Robert's use of the real name Terry felt like a knowing glance across decades of locker room wars and backstage stories, some that fans would never know, but all of which contributed to the mythos. Torrie Wilson, a personal connection beyond eras. Where Roberts brought quiet reverence, Torrie Wilson's tribute was steeped in personal emotion. As a top star during WWE's Attitude and Ruthless Aggression eras, Wilson entered the industry at a time when Hogan had already cemented his place as an icon. But their paths crossed during Hogan's late-stage returns to WWE, and according to Wilson, those encounters left a lasting impression. My heart breaks for Terry's family. I will be a Hulkster forever. I'm so fortunate to have had him in my life. R.I.P., brother. Her words were raw, stripped of formalities. They hinted at a friendship that had grown behind the scenes, away from the cameras and scripted promos. The choice to refer to him by his real name once again revealed a deeper bond, the kind built on shared time in the locker room, backstage chats, and perhaps moments of encouragement from a veteran to a rising star. Wilson's public acknowledgement of being a Hulkster forever was especially powerful considering the generational gap. Hogan's peak came in the 1980s and early 1990s, while Wilson's rise began in the early 2000s. Her tribute confirmed what many already knew. Hogan's influence didn't fade with time. It passed through the generations like torchlight. His charisma, his presence, and his reputation transcended eras, reminding everyone that legends are timeless. Kane, a tribute from a childhood fan turned peer. Then came Kane, the big red machine, whose fire and brimstone persona seemed worlds apart from Hogan's red and yellow Americana. But under the mask was Glenn Jacobs, a lifelong fan of wrestling who, like so many others of his generation, grew up imitating Hogan in the mirror. Hulk Hogan was a true legend. I was fortunate to work with him a couple of times, including this memorable one. It was easy to do a Hulkster impersonation when, like millions of guys my age, I'd practiced it in the mirror 1,000 times growing up. Rest in peace, Hulk. Kane's tribute included a short video clip, a grainy flashback to a shared moment in the ring, one of those cross-generational encounters that blur the line between fantasy and fulfillment. The clip, though brief, carried emotional weight. It symbolized the closing of a loop. A fan who had grown up idolizing Hogan, now standing opposite him as an equal in the ring. Kane's acknowledgement of Hogan as a true legend wasn't just corporate homage. It was the voice of a man who had lived the dream so many boys had shared in the 80s. To be like Hulk Hogan. His statement tapped into a universal truth. Before they were superstars, many of today's wrestlers were kids watching Hogan drop the big leg on Saturday mornings, believing in the power of vitamins, prayers, and Hulkamania. Vince McMahon. A monumental goodbye. Of all the tributes, perhaps none carried more symbolic weight than that of Vince McMahon, the man who saw Hogan not just as a wrestler, but as the cornerstone of an empire. The world lost a treasure today. Hulk Hogan was the greatest WWE superstar of all time, someone who was loved and admired around the world. He was a trailblazer, the first performer who transitioned from being a wrestling star into a global phenomenon. McMahon's words were sharp, declarative, and final. Coming from the architect of modern professional wrestling, this was not casual praise. It was a stamp of historic significance. For decades, McMahon and Hogan's relationship had swung between alliance and friction. Hogan's defection to WCW in 1994 was a wound that McMahon once described as devastating. Then came the steroid trial, where Hogan's courtroom testimony caused a rupture that seemed irreparable. But as the years passed, fences were mended, and the two men once again stood united in their vision for what wrestling could be. His grit and unbridled thirst for success were unparalleled and made him the consummate performer. He gave everything he had to the audience, whom he appreciated, respected, and loved. Linda McMahon, remembering the man behind the myth. Finally, there was Linda McMahon. Though often more reserved than her husband, her tribute brought a sense of warmth and deep personal reflection. Linda had worked closely with Hogan through every phase of his career, from his rise in the 80s to his late-stage returns and media ventures. I had the privilege of knowing and working with Hulk Hogan for over 40 years. Hulk was a dear friend and member of our WWE family. His legacy in and out of the ring will always be remembered. He was one of a kind. Linda's words emphasized not just the professional, but the personal. By calling him a dear friend, she broke from the standard corporate eulogy and touched on something more intimate, a human connection formed over decades of collaboration, ups and downs, and shared milestones. Her reference to Hogan's legacy in and out of the ring reminded the world that Hulkamania wasn't confined to arenas. Hogan was a movie star, a reality TV figure, a goodwill ambassador. He visited children's hospitals, granted countless Make-A-Wish requests, and brought joy to fans even when the spotlight faded. We truly appreciate your support. Subscribe and be part of our journey.